Hello to all. My name is Will Pryor, and for my BioBits presentation, I have chosen to research the causation and possible prevention of the extinction of the American chestnut tree. To start, let's learn about the American chestnut tree. The American chestnut used to dominate the canopies across the East Coast and was known for its fast-growing tendencies, as well as its edible chestnuts. For those who celebrate Christmas, in Nat King Cole's The Christmas Song, when it mentions chestnuts roasting on an open fire, American chestnuts were the ones being roasted. However, you may have noticed that when I said used to dominate the canopies across the East Coast, the American chestnut is no longer as present in our eastern forests as they once were. In the early 20th century, a devastating fungus brought to America by chestnut trees native to East Asia that had already developed a resistance to said fungus nearly decimated the American chestnut population. This fungus is known as Cryphonectria parasitica, or chestnut blight. This photo is an example of chestnut blight at an early stage, and this photo is an example of chestnut blight at a later stage. What this fungus does is it doesn't always kill the tree, but rather prevents it from growing into a fully developed, reproductive capable tree. While the fungus does not affect the roots of the tree, it instead affects the premature growth above ground. Although root systems survive and continue to send up shoots, the inability of these shoots to grow into mature, nut-producing trees means the species is considered functionally extinct in the wild. What does the future hold for these trees? As you can see in the left photo, like I said earlier, the American chestnut used to grow in massive groves across the East Coast and looked something like that. But then, after the onset of the chestnut blight, the American chestnut trees began to look more and more like the photo taken in 1943 on the right. So at this point, it's fair to feel hopeless for the future of this beautiful and iconic species. But fear not, for there is a solution being worked on. Genetic engineering is moving towards creating a hybrid chestnut tree that is resistant to the chestnut blight. It is this specific chestnut DNA that is reviving the American chestnut. This new chestnut hybrid mixes the American chestnut tree on the left and the Chinese chestnut tree on the right, and creates the hybrid tree in the middle. While this isn't very easy to see in the photos that I've provided, there are many phenotypes in both the American chestnut tree and the Chinese chestnut tree that come together into the hybrid tree, more than just the resistance to the chestnut blight. Effectiveness of this treatment. Unfortunately, complete eradication of the chestnut blight is not possible due to it being harbored on so many host species that still don't affect the species but only affect the American chestnut. In addition to this, the crossbreeding program I mentioned above is not entirely perfect. It has been found that the genetic compatibility between the American and Chinese chestnut trees is not as robust as initially thought, meaning the species may never be fully resistant enough for a full restoration into the ecosystem. Finally, not to lose all hope, some of the top researchers, agencies, and organizations like the American Chestnut Foundation, U.S. Forest Service, and Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation are some of the leaders in development of the blight-resistant chestnut trees and are coming closer to a solution every day. What you can do: support restoration efforts. Even small donations help long-term restoration efforts. Volunteer with conservation groups. Help plant these blight-resistant trees. And finally, spread awareness about American chestnut trees. Tell people about its importance and its eradication for those who may not know. Thank you for listening.